Good evening all, hope you're doing well. We are euphoria, which I thought might be the case. If you saw yesterday's video, we'd come from fear, complacency. And so logically, if we're coming from fear, then to complacency, then we're probably going to go up the one notch above, and that's euphoria. And it's kind of typical and a little bit predictable because we have to remember the big picture is that we're risk on. Okay, that's really important. And what's happened is that have sold over the last 24 hours. Technical scores have really pumped. They have also shorted cross yen very strongly, but that is the complete antithesis of yesterday. It's the polar opposite of what happened yesterday, and so the yen really strengthened yesterday. The retail guys and girls, they saw the yen strength and thought, well, this is probably the turning point. I better get involved. And they have got really involved, and it's possibly going to trap them because technically these are all very strong. Okay, so it could end up very badly for the retail traders on the cross yen. So you see how long they are. For example, there's a massive bar here that tells us that they're long. And also, this used to be, the cross yen used to be a very good risk on, risk off proxy. If we're going to ever return back to that sort of fundamental nature of the yen, it being like a risk off, the cross yen would be a risk on trade idea, but the yen itself is supposedly a safe haven. So if you buy in something against the yen in a risk on environment, that should do okay, and we may be returning back to that. That the way that the cross yen would operate. So we'll have to wait and see. Lots of greens and a very small red, and that's just from the risk calc when I reset it when I did the bulletin for the Discord. Okay, so it's looking quite bullish. We have got an ECB risk event tomorrow. We have seen the market sour a little bit on ECB days, probably about more than 50% of the time. I remember once it really soured the market, and I think something was said at the press conference and the market didn't like it particularly, and the indices did fall, and it was likely from the ECB, and there was a flight to safety, and I think probably you're looking at about 50 to 75% of the time it ends up, and it's been a little bit jittery and the market's a bit uncertain, and we can have a momentary risk off, but then of course by New York we're possibly gonna pump. And we have to remember, we in the US, they've got the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. She spoke yesterday, and it looked like we were going a little bit risk off yesterday evening, and of course there was something said, and I will admit I've tuned out for what she's been saying, because whatever she says, the market's going to rally because she represents stability, and she could say that she had a nice meal at a restaurant or something, and then all goes would just up on that. And Yellen spoke, oh, bye. It's just absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ludicrous. I don't know what the next risk event's going to be. I just said to Andy in Discord, it's probably going to be the US elections, but that's ages away. And we'll just have to wait and see, won't we? So quite risk on, euphoria right now. It's possible we may even be in dominant phase, which means that we'll be green across all sales because we've got more gas left in the tank. We could get to 100% on the technicals easily, So likewise, I say about the greens, come down to Wednesday, there's lots of greens. So the herd are programmed to sell everything. Obviously, if it says buy, it tells us that the herd is selling, and vice versa for sell. They're actually long these, but they're short nearly everything. It's just crazy. So that's that being said. Don't forget we've got the COT data, and we did look at the basket dashboard, and so that didn't work out today. So that's telling us buy, but we had negative. That was saying buy, positive, so that's fine. That was naughty. That's okay. That's okay. That's slightly naughty. We're not talking about big moves, actually, are we really, on the baskets? And that's fine as well, and that's fine. So it's a little bit more naughty than what yesterday. It was correct on everything. It had 100% yesterday. Good news about the trading station. It's loaded the data, and so we can see while this may actually be a permanent thing, we don't need to necessarily worry about it. This glitch, it looks like it might not get rectified. It might just be sort of set in stone, but we don't need to worry about that because we're interested in what's happening now. And they shorted it strongly. So let's draw a box. And yeah, it's just kind of annoying because I want to get a dip buying opportunity, but I'm not going to be buying up here. So you just need to be patient. And I want a nice. This could have been the dip buy, to be fair, but you know, it could have fallen a little bit more. You know, so maybe I just been a little bit too. What's the word? I'm trying. I've been quite protective over my capital. I am trying to hold on to my my winners, and I think maybe trading up here, it just seems so risky to me. You know, we have broken that high. Let's draw this box. So I only want to be trying to get the lows and the highs, you know, but it's very, very, very tricky. Like at that point, you know, we saw that they'd sold, so we could have probably entered. I could have probably entered there, and I could have probably put that out into Discord. But I'm just being a little bit wary right now. I think probably I was thinking that this could have fallen a little bit heavier. This move here was looking like we may be going towards the 50% mark. This move here, so that might have convinced me that we may have continued. But of course, they had a big change of heart. This big bullish wick, and we continued very, very strongly. This would have coincided with some. What's that time? 5 o'clock. He could have had some kind of Fed speech. Yesterday with the Yellen speech. Up we go. So let's draw this box. And where is it? It's just shy of that hour. So it's going to be here. So we should be above that box. Okay. This was slightly naughty. This move here. And of course, that's fine. So we should be above. All right. And this is going to be very similar to all the indices, really. DAX, I guess. So they're probably going to sell it. We're going to get the buy. And so what happened is that they've gone long, but yet we went up anyway. So it's just a very bullish scenario when things rally. If the herd get paid, and they got paid a little bit, or you know, you could probably argue that this is very glitchy, and you know they could have done this sort of gradual move. But it's very hard to say what happened in this period of time because it doesn't tell us. It's just sideways, and that's not right. So there may have been some developments in this area that could have you know give us more clues. Looks like we're going to sell, and then we're going to make the buy, and then we'll get the box, and we'll pump. Looks like we're breaking this channel, and you know these were like fake breakouts. This was possibly a fake breakout, and that's where I thought we may come in for a buy. And it did coincide it, but I was slightly early, if you saw my video from last week. And up we go. And then, of course, it would have really frustrated you had you entered there. Did that move? Just come back to your entry. Actually, it's pretty disgusting. So we can't draw a box yet because we need the crossover. And this was naughty, right? And US 30. And I just want a big dump, and then I want to get a really good entry, but sideways. So, like I said in Discord, I would avoid this completely because one, we had that glitch, and two, it's very sideways. There's not really any sort of movement. I said lackluster conviction. There wasn't anything really outstanding from the retail guys one way or the other. They didn't really buy or sell strongly. But you can argue, we made these an ascending trend line. You can see it quite bullish, there. And I think if we break that high, which we kind of did, we could be making like a channel, and there'll be a bullish channel while we're by at the big picture. So we can look at gold, and we'll talk about the robot, and then I'll be back tomorrow for the weekly wrap-up video. And gold, we can make a box. And it's just a shame it did this yesterday, but it's one of those things we can't really, nothing we could do. It's obviously an issue with the server. And it's really weird. Where's that box? Let's maybe draw it. Oh, come on. It's annoying. Where do we get the crossover? I'm just going to mark it there. So it was slightly naughty, but inevitably did okay. And then if you saw in Discord, I placed a circle with an arrow. There's the retest of the punishment box. Okay, so you're looking for retests there. And up we go. And it did okay. 2, 3, 3, 4. Yeah, it's a $20 move. It's a huge move. It really moves a lot nowadays, which is great. You know, if you're trading it, you can make a lot of money as long as you're getting good entries. The FXCM train station is really good for entries, especially with the crossover logic. So you can see we had the sell. There's one here. We mapped the box. So this potentially might come into play if we're going to pump. These two boxes we could stretch these boxes out and they could come into play, because that's where they created a supply. When they buy, it creates a supply, so you know there has to be someone to sell it, and they really came in and sold. So yeah, we could theoretically be retesting these boxes. Remember, the COT data was bullish as well, and we may even get a retest down here. If we get one, you know where your stop's going to be. It's going to be shy of that. So if we come into that box, are we looking? It's pretty. It's like a $9. It's like a $9 stop loss, which is quite wide. But you know, if we're coming back into that, and then we go back into the box, then you know that would be a fairly safe stop loss. And we may be having that as a support. Up we go. But it's definitely made a buy at that box. So let's talk about the robot. Which one is it? Okay, and so I did a little bit of analysis of this in Discord in the QDB testing area. Is that what's happened? See this stop loss cluster? We probed it exactly, and we had this big move. I was saying with about 80% confidence is that we're going to come and get the stop loss cluster. And we're going to come and get the stop loss cluster. And we're going to do this. And it's going to be very frustrating and boring, to be honest with you. But perhaps we may be okay. We made a lower high here. Yeah, we haven't broken above that high. So potentially we may be okay. And look where our TP is. It's at just above the SLC. So we might be okay. If so, then that would be great. And it will be a back-to-back win for the bot. Just that I think potentially this is a scenario which we probably have to consider. So it just wants liquidity to liquidity and just forever. Okay. And I'm going to try and get my FX book stats up so I can share these. But currently it's reporting data from September, which is obviously no good. There's also another thing about the bot. When I produced the results, we had so much testing for the first 6 months. We were just throwing willy-nilly signals at it. So it's not a fair representation of where the bot is now, because we've gone through so many iterations and so much testing. The current bot is nothing like what it was when we first started. We were basically just testing connectivity. So while my textbook stats will be poor, that's the reason for it, because we were just basically testing connectivity and functional testing. Once we got that and we made sure it could come into MetaTrader 4 from the sheet, then we could fine tune it. So I suppose in hindsight, we could have potentially created a new account or a new account for each version of the bot, because we're in like version 3 now. So we could have probably done that, and for every account we could have had a bot designated for that account, because this is the culmination of all the bots. And we are down we are down from the start, but then that's the reason for it. So perhaps that might be an idea. But anyway, I think that should be fairly understandable. We're still testing, and just the fact that when we started, it was just I was just putting trades of random sizes just to test the sizing, to see if that came through, and then we tested the trade and stop, and then we tested the bubbles, and then we did all sorts of testing. Then we even reversed the bubbles, if you remember that. That logic on the bubbles, it was based on the fact that on the bubble chart, what would happen, something would come across here and then they would get stopped out, then we'd see reversal. And likewise, when something was very extreme down here, stops were hit and then we'd see reversals. So we would reverse the bubbles. But currently, it wouldn't work with the yen, because what's happening with the yen is that the apes are involved and they're going to hold. So we wouldn't have traded the yen, and that would have skewed that particular trade. So then we opted for dollar only, and then we find it to the Euro USD, and that's where the current situation is. So the new bot is using Twitter API and technical indicators. So it doesn't use the bubbles at all, and it is what it is. It's so uncertain what will happen, but we do know of a fair chance, a fair likelihood when something's down here and very extreme, like say for example the New Zealand dollar comes down here, stops will have to get taken out, and then we're going to see a big move. So it's just one of those things. We had to eliminate the yen, and also there's a small chance of the herd adding and becoming like apes on New Zealand dollar. They've done it on the yen, so perhaps they could have done it on the Kiwi. You just don't know what the herd are thinking and how they're even like planning ahead. And they're probably going to get screwed on the yen, like I said at the very beginning of the video. So tomorrow I'll do a wrap up, and then we'll just see how we go. And don't forget ECB, and then we've got NFP. I'm probably not going to trade Friday, I think, because NFP is like a complete roller coaster. But I might have a little dabble tomorrow at the ECB, and I think we may be seeing a strong dollar for the fact that if we come to US Treasuries, it's very, very unusual. We've been doing this every day for a long time. It's very, very unusual to see so much negativity on US yields. Right, let's see, we would have to come back to the 29th, which is a little while ago. So it's unusual to see red, 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 red. So it's making me think that this is being sold in order for a pump at the ECB or NFP. And so they may be selling the USD/Treasuries in order to buy tomorrow or NFP Friday. It's just because what normally happens is that we'll have flip-flop. Okay, so this would be like fairly typical, a reversal the next day. Continuation, continuation, reversal. Reversal, continuation, 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 a little bit of continuation, reversal, continuation, continuation. So it's making me think it might be setting up for a dollar pump, but we'll have to wait and see. And I guess the only thing we can do tomorrow is that we'll look a little bit more at the spreadsheet, and that might give us some clues going into the ECB. But I think what will probably happen is that the stops are going to get hit regardless, the SLC above and the SLC below, and then we'll have a clearer idea about dollar direction from the ECB, and then we'll just have to wait and see. And then the big test is NFP, and if that goes badly, they'll probably release the Yellen, and we'll be risk on going into the weekend. And that'll be dollar negative. So just know your exit, and you should be fine. Okay, and trade safely. And that's me done. No more waffling, and I'll speak to you soon.